evening, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere Program. My name is Pooks, and as you can see, we have cancelled the rockets. No more rockets being launched here, people, which actually means a really cool thing. Our first Dyson Sphere is done. Now, it's not done. We've still got all the solar sails that need to make up the filling, so to speak. But all the framework is there. The entire thing is there. We've just got solar sails to go, but we don't need no more rockets, which is incredible. We have constructed the Dyson Sphere around Big Brain, which is cool. I am very happy about this. But that's not really what tonight's episode is about. Now, if you've wondered why I've skipped from where I was before to where I am now, then the reason is because in about an hour or so time, I was just skipping around, seeing what needed to be done, finishing off the super smelter, just placing the last bits and pieces there, and working out what the next project would be. Now, I had stated that the next project would be working on the factory that Arrakis will become, the Arrakis system here. And I was thinking, well, it's a fair way away. I'm going to need to be sending a whole heap of parts back and forth. I could do it like in my inventory like I was with the smelter, but that was actually quite close comparatively. Like, it's not all that far to get to the smelter from Big Brain, so that was feasible to go back and forth to pick up things. But if I'm going back and forth between Arrakis is something like it's 11 light years away. That's a decent amount, you know. I mean, it's not the furthest away. Ankar, maybe, or one of these guys is probably the. Oh, we have a red giant. I didn't think we had a red giant. That's cool. I'm gonna go check that out. Alright. Yeah, these guys are further away, I guess, but there's still, you know, not nearly the kind of the distance. Yeah, there's still a decent amount of time to warp, I guess is what I'm saying. So, in light of that, I was thinking, well, what's the solution? And the solution, I think, is that we need a way to send all the things that we'd normally use as building materials out to Arrakis, so that when I need to top up, I don't need to fly all the way back to Earth and Big Brain. We can just do it in the Arrakis factory, and then that Arrakis factory can ship all the parts that are necessary back or around the place, basically, to construct buildings. So to do this, we're going to need a new mall. So our current mall works on here. Our current mall is this series of factories here. It's a snaky, horrible mess. Don't get me wrong, it's served its purpose. It has automated the construction of many things, and that's been great. That's been, you know, it's got us to this point. But what I'm thinking is that it can't continue any further, right? Or it can continue, or it could continue, but it's not the greatest way of going about this. We need to get to a point where if we need something, we can just grab it from wherever we are, or anytime that we go out to a new solar system, that we can just import the things that we need to be able to to start construction and build up things. So that's the goal of the Interstellar Mall. That's right, we will be constructing a second mall that will hopefully be a little bit less of a snaky, horrible mess, and it's going to be around here. Now you can see I've already built up some interstellar logistics stations. So these guys over here, they've got all the parts that I think I might need to construct things in a mall. Not necessarily in order either. And then we've got finally this one here as well. So I think that's all the things that I'll need to build stuff. And then on the other side, down here, is all the things that I want to be able to build. So we've got, you know, our assembling machines, we've got our arc smelters, we've got our conveyor belts. I'm actually gonna ramp these one up. Let's say, I was initially thinking, you know, I don't need that many of them, but, and you know, I don't want to waste the resources, but I think we're at the point where we don't really need to worry about wasted resources too much. We are in a post-scarcity sort of economy, I think now. Actually, batteries are something that could definitely need heaps of them. So we're going to set these to be large amounts. Now, I may not import this amount into anything, but certainly I just want them ready to go, so anytime I do need to top it off, I can set up a fresh shipment, and I can just grab what I need whenever I need it. So that's the plan for tonight's episode, to get started on our new Interstellar Mall. And before we even get started laying down our first factories, we're actually going to clean up this as well, because we no longer need these launchers. It's got a whole heap of rockets in them. I've already run down and just switched this over to be supply instead of demand. So this can just go around and supply all those rockets somewhere else. But we do need to cut these down. Basically, we need to move it down to the point where we don't need this space. We don't need these kind of being powered, soaking up, or sitting here, soaking up power. So we're going to demolish this as the first thing to do when doing our mall. I'm just going to use the bulk demolisher. Click and hold. Oh, and now we're starting to get litter. Now I definitely don't want to just send those on their way. We will pick up these. Pick up litter, there we are. Come on. Give me my litter back. I didn't mean to throw it all over the floor. Everything? No, it can't be. There's three left. Come on. Ah, bugger it. It's gone. Alright. So we'll chuck our rockets back in here so that they cannot be wasted. That's still got power, I think. Yep, so that can supply something when it needs the rockets. Mainly it'll be sending it back to another logistics station. And while I'm here, these can form the first basis of these. Yep, we've got 40 already. Going strong. Yeah. Alright, so before I actually bring in any materials from these things, I think that I'll actually want to map out where this factory is going to go, how it's going to look. One of the things I did realize is that some of my common components, like motors, I actually need to build a few of them. Yeah, so, or cogs as well. For example, if I'm going to need cogs in my factory, I actually need a cogs line. I don't actually have anywhere that builds these things, and so I'm thinking of maybe just making that all down here. I'm not actually, you know what, I'm thinking those electric motors we bring in. they can be a bring-in thing. We'll bring them in from up the top here. You've already got green motors somewhere. Yep, I do. Good. And just to start us off in tonight's episode, we will go somewhere else. We're going to go to our Forge world, because I'm pretty sure those electric motors will be present in reasonable quantities over here, but just not being used all the time. So we'll see if we can set up a system. We can siphon it off. Oh, there's a gas giant in our way. Oh, that was close. Right. And we'll just use the warp function. Because we have this fantastic factory here that keeps producing green motors for us. And we'll just see if it's got an excess of yellow. Yeah, look at them all. Just look at them all. We're still stuck on storage of it. Right, so look at these guys. They're like, hey, we're just chilling here, man. Just chilling. We ain't got nothing to do. So what we want to do is set up a system so that when they're not being used for anything, not being used for here, that they'll come into a logistics station instead. In fact, we can probably make it this logistics station. Why not? It'll be local storage, remote supply, and then let's see if we can work this out. So, yeah, we've got all the inputs. All the inputs will run down here. So the question is, do we just run it off the endpoints? Also, can we? I suppose can is probably a good question here too. I'll clip that off while I'm here. Yeah, do we just run it off the endpoints when they go into our green motor factories? Or do we just do that? Because that's the simplest way I can think of doing this. It really is. But then I don't want my green motors factories to just suddenly be starved because you know what? I'm not going to be using decisions. I want some kind of logic loop to say, hey, only if this is backed up can you run. That would be nice if we could do something along those lines. Unfortunately we can't, but about the best we could do is actually on the inputs and use something like a splitter to say you're allowed to run as a priority into here, otherwise go out this way. And I'm thinking that's what we need to do, but can we do it? I don't know. I think we can. Let's try and do it. Alright. So, we'll do that. You will come along. Just be like that. Then that will be your priority output. Go like this. And in. Right. So, priority. So if it ever needs it, it's going to go out the top. Otherwise, it can go out the bottom. That's one of our lines done. Now we make much, much more than just that one as well. Yeah, so that's 2 rungs of these guys, I think. I think we can fit one in here. We can. Can indeed. Alright, that's your priority. Cool. Therefore, I reckon I can do them side by side. It looks like it might have the spacing for it. Let's find out. Do another one. Yeah, it doesn't. But we might be able to squeeze it in anyway. Like so. And then like so. That's the priority again. And that'll do another 2 of them between them. Alright, so we want this to be up 1 level. Then connect. And then we can tell it to just kind of sneak through. Yep. Sneak on through there. And run up like this. Go. Alright. Oh, the other thing. Organized spaghetti. Exactly. Hey, Kestrel, how you doing? We are stealing from our spaghetti, in fact. Now, the other one was down here. It's this line here that we want to try and steal from. So, we'll just kind of clip it off like so. And then run it like this. And hopefully I can come up with a way that will allow me to... Yes. And then down a level, or down another level, out like so. That's the priority. And then when that's not happening, we'll try and get these to go out like so. Down a level. Good. Alright, now we should get the electric motors, I should say, necessary for our mall, our interstellar mall, back at our home planet, without having to really make large factories. Now the other thing I could potentially try and set up stealing from is the cogs and the magnetic coils, but I don't think that's worth it. They're really easy to make. And yeah, we'll just go with what we produce locally at Earth. It's also very nice being at a point where warpers are cheap enough and power is cheap enough that I don't need to do the old solar sail trick. I can just warp around the place now. Okay. So, therefore... Yes, good progress on the sphere. It might have been a while since you've been around, or you certainly haven't been around in chat for a bit, so we have the design all done, Kestrel. It's completely done. All we're doing is just filling in the solar sails, but all the framework is done. So we're now actually at a point where we're storing rockets. And so we're building this interstellar mall so that we can go and build a large sort of factory set up at the Arrakis system. Where we're going to put in our next Dyson sphere will go here. As well as I want to be able to use the outer edge planet to start constructing, use this as a launch for the Dyson sphere, as well as to import all the components that I'll need to construct a factory rather than go back and forth, which is a fairly long trip but then these planets will turn into manufacturing hubs. The other thing that you know what, we'll make a trip out just for you. We'll head out, and because I enjoy showing it off as well. We made a super smelter as well, so everything that we mine will be going through the system smolder at the planet called the Smelter. And I also fell in love with advanced mining machines. They are actually great because they have inbuilt logistics stations, and I didn't realize that. And it's just so much easier to work with them than setting up miners all the time. Where am I? Oh, I've nearly missed it. Hang on. We zip past the planet then. But yeah, we made a super smelter planet. As you can see, most of the planet is covered. There are a few gaps, mainly because I didn't want to waste the materials. Where we've got veins here, and then the smelting chunks didn't neatly fit. But once these are all mined out, which admittedly might take a while for some of the rarer materials that I don't use so often. But once they are fully mined out, then I'll be plonking down the rest of the planet will turn into a smelting facility. So we've got about 2/3 of the place covered, maybe. Something about that. Maybe even just half. But either way, this has got more smelting capacity than I'm going to have a need for in the short term anyway. So it's importing iron, it's from any planet that mines iron. Also has some local mines as well. And it just smelts up stuff. It's the whole point of that planet. Now, it's not loving the frame rates either, so we'll head back to Earth. I did discover that my frame rates are significantly better when I'm not streaming though. So I think it's partially OBS taking up a little bit of resource. Smashing my CPU about. But yeah, not what we're doing today. Today we're making a super mall so we can transport stuff around. Make things a lot easier rather than going back and forth between Earth and trying to find stuff in the spaghetti mall is getting less fun now as well. What is that? That's cut off with power. Oh yeah, because I broke the. Oops. Better fix that now. I packed down my rockets because rocket launchers because I don't need them anymore, and as a result, that didn't have power, so we weren't shooting out solar sails from it anymore. Where am I? Close. I know that. Yeah, here we go. Is it an exploitee? Maybe it is. I don't know. I think that's how the game needs to I want to say produce, but that's not the word. That's how the game goes. Just as you've got so many planets that you've got to, make use of all the space that you're given. I think so anyway. Now, I'm going to need a chunk of factories for this. I've just grabbed the wrong ones. Oops, we are going to use the fastest possible factories now. Uh, 150 should be plenty. I've got even more than that actually. So that'll be good. I'm gonna wander down and see if I've got some more belts sitting around. Ah, I do, good. That was getting a little bit concerning, my belt supply. Certainly was. Game lore. I haven't read much of the lore, actually. I mean, I know the premise is that you're meant to be a robot helping your, like, big brain sort of developed, etc. But yeah, I think it's just the way the game progresses in terms of if you're going to have this many solar systems and all the planets, you've got to dedicate some of these planets to doing specific things. So it's not the first super smelter, and it won't be the last as well. I think I'm going to need a couple of them spaced around the place. What else am I going to need? I might want proliferators, so we'll just top that up. Oh, that's one of the things I don't... Not spray coaters. I don't think I'm building those in my mall, and I want to. I'm going to want them. Alright, something to keep aware of. Otherwise, I think that's all the materials I really want in my inventory for now. We'll keep it clean. Ah, wait. That's not all I wanted. I know what I wanted. Power dude thingies. These power satellites. We'll grab a couple of those. Okay, so I think the way that I might do this is just focus on one tower at a time to build what I need, and then keep going from there maybe. I also need to fill in this. I ran out of foundation before. Maybe I need to pick some of that up. Yep, I do. Jeez, I'm going back and forth and it's only just a local planet. Grab a couple of these. Oh. Alright. We'll minimize this. I was gonna try and make it a bit more, hey, let's metal out the entire factory over here. Make it look fancy, but it really does take up so much foundation, it's ridiculous. I think, yeah, we've got concrete smelters, but I've only got really one thing producing foundation. And I think that'll be something that I want to build up a fair bit as well. But now that I've done that, I'm also going to drop another one of these down, I think. I'll clear the settings. And so I think we will make this one. I'm going to want something that supplies warpers to this thing. It only needs 100. And next I wanted something that's going to be doing probably pilers for when I build them. We will add them into my mall. Spray coaters. And anything else I need? I don't think so. Advanced mining machines, I'm always just, well, I say always now, but you don't need heaps of them when you're mining out factories. Yeah, the dirt might be a bit low actually. I filled in a few oceans. How are we doing? Yeah, 880k, jeez. It is very low. We'll have to fix that up at some point. Go find a planet to drop stuff onto. Although we should get a little bit from the hills here, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna do it. That's the other thing. We should probably ship around as foundations. We're gonna want it somewhere when I'm on new planets. Flying back will be a pain. So we'll put that on the list too. Okay, so we have a few things we want to make, and I'll set up the factories and the line inputs, and then maybe not connect up everything until the last bit, so I can just kind of move things around if I need to, and it won't be, I'm hoping it won't be a pain in the butt that way. Alright, but we will start with pilers. So, pilers are going to need steel, cogs. Alright, it's going to need an input of 4 and it's going to output to 1. Now, let's build a couple of them. So we'll set you to piler. Piler here. We need to make sure that we're leaving plenty of space around the place as well. If I do that, that's going to be my inputs here. And then we'll also need an input from here. And then we'll need an output from here. Alright, so that's going to... Oh. Output. Output. Input. Input. And then 1, 2, 3. Okay. I can't do that because that would have been the smarter way though. Okay, and then we're also going to need something running power. I might just sneak one in here. That'll cover a large sort of area we've got. Alright. Now, I know that my output is going to go up and along. And let's go here. Now, pilers are going to need... I just made them into spray coaters when I was meant to be pilers. That was silly. Piler. So pilers are also going to need cogs, and I know that I'm not importing cogs, but what I'm thinking is that I just make a relatively small local cog line, right? So if I put down 15 of these, it will probably produce more cogs than I can possibly need. Right, I know that this has got, oh, no it doesn't. This thing down here. Now that's the other thing I'll need to be aware of, is that I'm going to want multiple lines of these things coming out, so I'll probably want splitters for everything when it comes out. So we'll just set that up now. Right, so I can run multiple lines of everything without it becoming a major drama. If I set those splitters down first, I'm hoping that it won't be as much as an issue. Whoops. Trying to plan, we'll see how it works. Maybe it doesn't, but with any luck, I will not have as much of a spaghetti mess as normal. The other good thing at the moment is that these logistics stations now have basically automatic piling built into them, thanks to some white science upgrades that we've got. That's the other thing, we have started, oh really, I ran out of splitters. Actually, that's super annoying because I'm going to need them. In fact, we just got that then. These will now stack out to level 2 when they go out of the building. So this one will mean that they're automatically 1 stack. Now I'm going to queue up the next one. Logistics carrier level 11. Hang on. Capacity. Oh, I need to queue these a little bit further. Okay. This thing is 3. Actually, just do that for the time being. Already making compromises, it's a bad sign. Now this won't be here permanently. Oh, it's just got a lot of rockets in it at the moment. I don't want to waste them. Rockets are still somewhat expensive to make. So we're just going to run a line down this way to supply our cogs. And then we'll have a cogs output line here. If you're thinking that things are getting a little bit luggy, it is the frame rate's taking a hit. It is not your imagination. Probably the wrong planet to be doing this on as well, but hey, I wanted everything to really come from home, so to speak. Plus, it does have a Dyson sphere in orbit, which means it will be a lot better at being able to handle the power requirements, etc. Speaking of power, we are going to put in some satellite power this time. That's powering it up straight away. And that'll give us cogs. Now, I'm not going to run it across yet because I don't know where else I'll need those cogs. But I think we've set up our supply. We know that it's possible now. We might also just drop these guys in here to power our logistics stations. I actually quite like these. It makes your planet look like it's having acupuncture. Planet is very stressed. Needs some good chi. I actually think the regular poles are still very useful. The reason being, I'll just give you an example, is if you're putting in a smelting block like this and you want it to be nice and compact, see that how basically the Tesla towers they're only taking out one kind of rung here. Whereas if you try to replace that with your satellite power, they're actually fairly bulky. So in instances where you're trying to really maximize or minimize your footprint, Tesla towers, still the cheapest, most effective way of doing things. Also, if you're lightweight on power as well, then these things actually have an idle requirement. So they're always going to consume 720 kilowatts when they're idle, so they're always consuming power. Whereas your Tesla poles are not. There's no idle consumption. But for a factory like this where it's actually going to be a little bit spread out, or I think maybe even bigger ones with factories where you do want little gaps and that sort of thing, then I reckon, yeah, these satellite substations are going to be super useful. Plus, it's further between where they'll connect up, and that's been really useful when I'm doing mining planets. Those are my thoughts anyway. Whether or not they're worth a damn is entirely up to you. So we'll move on to the next one, which is spray coaters. Now, spray coaters will need 4 inputs, and it's going to need some more complicated inputs as well. So we're going to need, this is true, the AIM game has very much got free power. So we're going to want a few components to make these again. In fact, almost all components. But the one thing it does have in common with the piler is steel, right? So I'm almost thinking if this were our steel line, right? Then we could almost do something along the lines where we say, okay, the steel's going to come in, it's going to split off, and it's going to do... we'll do another 2 of them, maybe. I'm making spray coaters. I'm not going to use much of them, so one of those very little used sort of components. So 2 is going to be overkill, to be honest. But then we'll need 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll have our output like so. So we'll input here, we'll output here, and then we'll input, 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 because it does need 4 different components. Turn it so it is making spray coaters. Copy it across. And we've got our next bit. Now that is covering all the power. And then we can have our output line here. Good. And then the final thing that we're going to be putting in is foundation. Now foundation is going to want, we're going to want a fair bit of it. So I'm actually thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 of these doing its thing. Now foundation needs concrete and steel. So here's our steel again, which will, pardon the pun, will steel. Just gonna make it bridge over now. And go in like that. And then we want a concrete input coming in here. And then it can come out like so. Input, input, output. Switch to foundation, so I'm copying it down, there we are. Voila. Now immediately we're low on our power sort of satellite thing, so we'll chuck another one down here. I think that'll work. Alright, so we've set up our first one. It's only really simple ones, but we're off to a start. Is it a good start? I'm not sure, but it is a start. So the next thing we're going to do is going to be a little bit more complicated. And that is going to be assembling machines Mark III. So we're actually going to need 3 rows of things going on to produce these. And we might as well just start around about here, I think. And we'll do it so that we have 6, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this one is going to produce our assembler Mark 1, because we're going to need those to make Mark 2s, and we're going to need those to make Mark 3s. Alright, so nothing terribly complicated necessary here. I wonder if I actually want more. I don't know. It is a mall steel, so yeah, probably not necessary. Could be famous last words, but probably not necessary. Alright, so 3 things. That. Yep, alright. So we'll grab this. You're an input. Do the same here. And then we'll do the same here. I'm going to have an output line. Like so. But then we're actually going to wrap that output line around straight away. Because we'll of course want to be building these. So that needs 3 inputs including the tier 1. So we'll leave a gap. Do it this way. And run it like so. And then we're also going to want an input to here and an input to here. That will allow us to have 6 of those going on. Should just be right on the line. There we are. Yep, and then we go input. Oh, no, missed it. And that was the wrong type too. These ones. Input. And then we want to do the same sort of thing. Run this down. Wrap it around. Pretty sure it's going to need another 2 of these as well. So we'll just repeat that pattern again. Leaving plenty of space, mainly because we can, well, partially because we can, but mainly because I might need to run things over the top here, and I just want to make sure that I'm not going to snook myself, basically. Because I think other things might want to run down here and work their way into logistics towers. Comes the autosave, which is going to make it pause for a bit. And then we'll run this one, and it can run straight in. You know, straight away. Alright, but it will be input, and then output. So you will be the T3. No, you don't want to. Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah. And then you will be the T2s. Alright, now we want to power this all up. So we can do it just with one satellite there. And then that gives us, oh, I didn't build, yep. Put these together. Go. Alright, so that's the next thing on our shopping list done. Then arc smelters. Arc smelters should be a very simple one to do. Let's just check what they need. Actually, it's 4 components. Who would have thought? Now, what do they have in common? Iron, circuits. Yeah, okay. There'll be a pretty common one as well. I am thinking that, you know, we should be working on plane smelters eventually. Because it is 2 times the speed. then these are just so cheap and easy to make, and I haven't got unipolar magnets yet, so I won't worry about it. We'll have to come back someday and redesign this, but for the time being, we're just going to do with the arc smelter basis for it. So on that note, we'll give it some space so that we've got our inputs covered. I'm going to be using lots of arc smelters. Oh, will I? Will I really? Yeah, in the future I will. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really? It's colliding with an object? Oh, I've left a belt. Okay. Don't know how that got there, but so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, definitely on the list for unipolar magnets. They're going to be really necessary for where is it? This advanced recipe as well as this advanced recipe, if nothing else. But then, of course, planar smelters they'll be useful for too. But we will be going on a mining trip to grab them from the black hole and the pulsar. I think it is. Is it a pulsar? Neutron star. When we head out to Arrakis, Arrakis is actually quite close to both of them. So Arrakis being our factory system will be harvesting in those unipolar magnets to make good use of them for photons and for pink dumbbells or particle containers, I think is the proper word. Anyway, so arc smelters here will need 4 things in. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 coming in. And then let's just think here for a second. The things that this thing needs, right, is iron, stone, circuit, and magnets. So this one needs iron and circuits. So what I'm thinking, actually, what do you need? Nothing else that's in common. So what I'm thinking is that we actually take advantage of this and just connect up some of our connectors here so that we know these 2 lines are in common. So if we feed in this line, then it's going to feed through to this as well. And I don't think any of these will really be hungry enough to take more than 30 a second. Hey, we got a little loop there. I don't think anyway. Could be wrong. And then our arc smelter is going to have an output line like so. We'll run it off like this, take it up a notch straight away, and get it so it's coming down and in. Alright, I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this. It feels much more neat, more controlled. And like I've kind of got things together this time. Alright, power. We can power it all with just one substation. We'll need something else in between to connect them up. But hopefully we'll do that elsewhere, maybe. For the time being, that's set up. And let's go to the next one on the list. Belts. That's another complex one. I've smushed all the complex ones together, it looks like. So blue belts will need, of course, the Mark 1s, Mark 2s, and Mark 3s. Actually, that's not too bad. Now this too will need an iron line. And it will... This one needed graphene as well. Alright. I think I need to establish a policy here of over-under. So we're going to say 1 up to go to the left. That'll be our overs. When we're doing gaps like this. And then that should make it hopefully really easy to always have some space to run things underneath. Fingers crossed. So we're going to put our belt mark 1s down here and then run them up and put our next belt sort of things there. Now belts are something that I will need ridiculous amounts of. Fortunately, I think they construct fairly quickly. Yeah, like every 1 second, so I shouldn't really need all that many factories of them. We'll do, to keep up, I mean, do 6. The Mark 1s will be this. And you're going to need cogs, which this thing needs as well, and iron. So we're going to go iron. We're going to do cogs. Do our over. And then under. Run it up at level 1 like that. Any of these need cogs, you don't. You needed cogs as well, right? So, again, we should be clever about this if we can. And do a splitter. You don't need cogs, you need cogs. Gotta be careful here, actually. I'm gonna need that to be able to run under to get in. Yep. Alright, so that's got to be a cogs line. In the meantime, this other one has got to be an iron line, but we'll just need to remember that. Now we'll run this like so. Do this, and then this. Alright. So that's our tier 1s. Next we want our T2s, which just need green motors. I think I did 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Run our inputs like so. Then that. And then we'll want to run around again. Like this. Just using this as a guideline up the top. Keep our spaces with labels. Can you label the belts? That was a bad guideline, actually. Should be in here. Like seriously, can you label belts? That'd just be super handy, just sorting this up. That's a thing. Oh my god. How have I not seen this? All this time. All this time. I could have just labeled the damn things. Alright. Let's do that. Good. And then the other thing is that was going to be iron. Man, that is my new favorite thing for today. Thank you so much. That is going to be so helpful. Alright. I can't believe I didn't know that. That's steel, right? No, we had something with steel. See, I'm already forgetting things. You need to be a steel input. Pretty sure. What else did this need? It wanted cogs, which we've got. Blue motors. And it wanted processors. Then you want steel, which we've already got. Then we want green. That. What was the final thing? Crystalline components. Lovely. Then finally you needed stone. Over on this side, you're all belted up, so it's just from down here. We were going to run green as well as iron. The other thing you need is going to be stone and magnets. And you're going to need blue motor, or green motors, sorry. And then, yeah. Gone, label happy. Blue. Alright. Then we have our output, of course. We'll stick to our pattern here of going up. I might even just run it. No, I shouldn't. I should, leave a gap in case I need it. Alright. That's looking good. I knew that there would be something that ends up connecting up those substations. Put them in. And we just need to fix up the inputs, etc. here. Okay, so that's a good start for us. What's next? We needed sorters, so sorters are going to need iron and that. Electronic motors. Yeah, right. Actually thinking I'll make them down here. Just leave the top space kind of free for our next row of materials that also need fairly complicated things, I suspect. And then we're also making Tesla sort of things. Alright. Sorters are less of a problem. I think we'll just go with a rung of 6 again. So we'll start off a little bit low. 3, 4, 5, 6. Usually sorters are pretty easy to make. And that only requires 2 inputs. So we'll stick with our pattern of putting the inputs down the bottom. And we'll just label them up as well, because that is the most fantastic trick ever. So these little things that, as you're playing the game, if you don't realize, or you ignore the help tutorials like I do, that just make all the difference. That was not the greatest there. We'll do that, and input. Output. Yep. Monster has been let loose and will not go back in the bottle. The genie is out. That's really going to help with this sort of project where I'm going to essentially hooking up everything at the end so that's just for constructing in this way, it's great. Now we'll run it up like this. And then, because I have stuck to my... I thought this was going to be a... That's alright. It'll still work out. I was going to say because I stuck to my routine, but that wasn't the thing that gave me an advantage then. Lost track of where I was. Yeah, you can be copied down as well. Alright. So that will take care of our sorter needs, and we can... Oh no, I didn't leave enough space. It's alright. We'll just take 2 of these. Or acupuncture for the planet. The final thing to make here is Tesla poles. I'm actually going to end up with 2 of these. So this factory is going to run up the middle. And it's going to split to provide it here. But also, I want it to run into a factory that makes a satellite. Well, that makes these so I can make the satellite substations. So if I'm going to make probably more than would be strictly necessary, just because it's actually going to be feeding both my needs for Tesla towers, but also going to be feeding into a factory. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9's probably going to be plenty. I almost hear the wheels turning in my brain and think, is it really going to be plenty though? Is it really? We shall find out, brain. We shall find out. Alright, so we'll make you iron. What was the other thing? Was magnets. Now I swear something else needed magnets. What needed magnets? Might have been up here, maybe. Yeah, up there. Anything over here need magnets? Hello, can I interest anyone some magnets? Magnets, anyone? Nah. Alright. This can go here and up. And up and up. And that's where I don't have a splitter at the moment. I really could use one. And then it was split so it goes across this direction. So we'll just leave the kind of splitting icon or space for a splitter. And then I'll run in there for the actual supply of these things. Okay, then we will put down another power point. How are we doing on time? We have a good 6 minutes remaining. Excellent. Alright, so that's 2 towers done, I think. This one's done. Yep, this one's done. Let's keep on moving on up, and we are going to do satellite substations, so that's a good segue. Satellite substations will be next. Now, we're going to need a few things to build those. We're going to need these guys first. So we might make, say, where's our, that's our gap. So we'll keep that gap. We'll make 6 of these. I think I just started that. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the ratio here? These make every 3 seconds, these make every 5 seconds, and they just need 1. Yeah, so a 1-to-1 is going to be overkill, and we'll just stick with overkill. I don't really mind not counting these. Now we are left with a dilemma because we're at the far left, and if I cut across here, anything cutting up in the middle. So I almost need to go up straight away, then down. Keep with our pattern. That's probably going to cause problems here. Yep. Oh no, we're all good. Okay. You're gonna make these. You're gonna need to be these. Straight away. We'll loop you around as well. Let's give an extra gap because I didn't leave enough before. And then we're gonna have 6 of these. facing wrong? No, it's probably we're going into tropics here. Not quite, but still, we're getting towards a point where that will get awkward. And you're going to need another 2 inputs. 1, 2. Those are blue motors. And frames. Yeah, it's a bit of waste of resources building it, but at this point, I don't mind too much. It's only a factory or 2, really, and a few belts that we're talking about wasting. Another substation, and oh yeah, I need to do these ones. Output there. And run it down. Oh, yeah. You're not quite there. There we go. Alright, kicking along. What's the next one? Hey, splitters, the thing that I need. So electronics, iron, and cogs. A good place for the splitter might be around here somewhere, right? Because we have a cogs line, an iron line here. And splitters are not something you use every day. I'm honestly thinking 3 of them. Hey, Ochiniwa. I hope I've got the pronunciation of that right. Really? Hey, I finally got something right. I've been struggling with the word proliferation all the time through the entire playthrough. I'm glad I'm the first then. I'm sure I won't be the last, but I can at least say first on something. Welcome. Although I'm also really sorry to say that we just ran out of time as well for tonight's stream. We'll complete what we're doing and I'll lay out the plans for the next episode just so you have an understanding of what I'm doing, what I'm attempting to do. And yeah, we can get this happening. Alright, so we've got 3 imports. I'm thinking this one should be iron, right? This one should be cogs. I don't have a schedule for streaming, but if it helps a fair bit around about, this is my local time down the bottom right hand corner. I usually start around 8:30ish, 9ish most weeknights. It'll be rare that I skip one. Sometimes on the weekend, it just depends when I feel like playing and if I feel like streaming on a weekend. So you can catch me for about an hour each night, and I'm mostly streaming Dyson Sphere program, and you are correct, I am in the land of Oz. which does make it a little bit awkward, I know, for people in other time zones, because we just seem to share our own, to have our own little unique space in the time zone lands. But hopefully it can work out to be convenient for you. Alright, so that gives us our splitters here. And it also means that I can use, we're just going to do a quick up and to here, so we can run belts under if we need to, and then across. I'm going to do this same thing here, about here, and then back down to run in the cogs in there. And what I'm thinking is that we may end up with a splitter for our green circuits, that we end up splitting it off so it can run a belt down here and run a belt up here, maybe. Anyway, so this guy is going to go straight up the middle. So we'll need to make sure our inputs have a little hop there as well. And then we'll run across here. And to follow our pattern, it does need to go up a level, then back down, and in. And also, thank you for the follow. Hey, we just got another white science upgrade. Nice. Alright. So, plan for the next episode is we'll continue to work on the Interstellar Mall. The point of this is so that when I go off planets, I have all the things that I need to do mega builds, because it was really inconvenient when we were building our super smelter to have to go back and forth between our home planet and the place where we're planning on building next is a little bit further away. It's about 11 light years, so I don't want to spend all this time running back and forth between my normal mall. Instead, I want to be able to plonk down some logistic stations and import everything I might need. So we'll continue to build out all the necessary factories to build all these buildings. And then hopefully, if we get enough time, we're slowly working through it, we'll connect up the inputs for the logistic stations over here so that they can all start pouring all the necessary components into the factory for me. And yes, you're right, Kestrel, also get more splitters. We do have splitters being built somewhere down here. I can run and grab them. I'll do it now because we'll need them. And it sets me up for the next stream. Back to our regular mall. Oh, hang on. No, that's bad flying. So somewhere in this absolute mess, we have splitters being built. It'll be early on. Here we go. There we are. We've got them again. Yay. Anyway, so we'll keep building that mall out. I've just realized it's actually going to need a few energy exchanges too to charge batteries. So that'll be interesting. Space-wise, might be worth just importing charged batteries maybe. Then that'll disrupt power systems. Yeah, I don't know, I'll work that out. Yeah, well that's part of what we're doing here, is to essentially feed it all into stations that's going to go elsewhere. But I want to build new factories for it rather than trying to run belts. I mean, if we go back to those boxes or that mall here, then there's belts everywhere. Just trying to get all the stuff out of boxes and into a station is just going to be a pain. Like, I couldn't face it, which is partially why I'm just going and building a new factory to do all this. Also because I expect my demands to be a little bit higher, so I want to build more of these rather than just a single factory producing each building. There'll be multiple factories producing the stuff that I need. So that's what this space here will become. And yeah, so once we've done that, we will be heading out to the system that I've called Arrakis here. And the first thing that we're going to do is import a whole heap of stuff into the Icefield Jellisol, or Gellisol, however you say it, out the end here. But so we can construct things, but also this will end up being our way that we build a Dyson sphere around here. The Dyson sphere here is going to power this as a massive factory planet, and I am suffering from a little bit of lag. You can see the frame rates up the top left hand here. It's a lot better for me when I'm not streaming, but yeah, this one's, if we do this and then yoink over here, then we can give my computer a small heart attack and get down to 15 frames a second, and that's just hard. It's a lot nicer when I'm not on my main planet. Anyway, that's the plan. We'll continue to build this out in the next episode. So we'll already have a super smelter getting in all our raw components, and so once we have this and have the ability to ship it out to the Arrakis system, we will then be building out a bigger factory, and those factories will be producing not simple components. So our smelters are doing these sort of things. Our not simple components will be, you know, our massive motor factories. Probably another green motor factory, although the one in this system is actually pretty good at pumping them out. But producing all these other more complex components in that system is the plan. And ultimately, it will feed back somewhere where it's going to produce carrier rockets and solar sails. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how we go. I often get distracted sometimes, but I think that's going to be my big project. And certainly we need to finish off the Interstellar Mall. So, I hope you've enjoyed this stream. Sorry, Ochinowa, it's been a very quick one for you, but hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for the follow. And if you are watching and want to see more, you can always drop me a follow on Twitch. I also export these episodes out to YouTube, so go check out the channel there if you want to catch up on previous streams or previous episodes. And otherwise, I will see you in the next episode. See you later.